Okay, we are going to discuss watching your feet land. What? Very few. I hardly ever look at my feet. My feet are not happy with me because I don't look at them, because every now and then they crack and then it's too late. It's painful. Jesus plans to watch his feet land on earth, and he wants your feet landing with his feet. Can you picture your new spirit being feet landing with Jesus and his feet? All right? Why will Jesus be watching his feet? Because he is powerfully focused on healing the nation. Zechariah 14:4. In that day his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, which faces Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall split in two. That's going to be noisy, right? From, split in two, from east to west, making a very large valley. Half of the mountain will move towards the north, half towards the south. You're going to be there, God willing, and your feet will have touched the mountain just prior to the splitting as his. Or at least you'll be hovering up above watching, but your feet are going to be there. Where Jesus places his feet will make a huge difference for the next 1,000 years, because people are going to be coming to the city of Jerusalem. This new huge valley will become a mighty river bed. You know, we have the American flag. Right? Over the years, the American flag has become an incredible symbol. This mighty river is going to become an incredible symbol of God healing the nations. Zechariah 14:8. And in that day, there shall be that living waters shall flow from Jerusalem. Half of them will flow to the eastern sea, and half of them will flow to the western sea. Right? Picture Jerusalem, east, west, Mediterranean, Dead Sea. Gonna be awesome river, right? In the summer and the winter. God only sees two seasons. We have created 4 seasons, right? Which adds to the confusion. Just like God's day begins at sunset, and we say, no, it doesn't. It starts at midnight. It's like, and hence we get people confused about what's going on in the Bible. Zechariah 14:9, and the Lord shall be king over all the earth, and that day and shall be the Lord is one. There's only going to be one king ruling all of planet Earth, and his name one. And mankind will at last have one world ruling government, but ruled by Jesus, not some group of people, right? Guided by Jesus, because he is King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and praise that day, thy kingdom come. Long ago, Jesus wrote about this life-giving water river, Ezekiel 47:12. Along the bank of the river will grow all kinds of trees used for food. So how long is this river? I don't think we're told. Right? But it flows from Jerusalem, from under the throne, and it flows towards the Dead Sea. That's a good ways. And it flows out to the Mediterranean Sea. And remember, it says there'll be no more sea. What if that means no more Mediterranean Sea? Because it became a river. Right? That makes sense. There's still going to be oceans. Surely there'll still be beaches, and surely there'll still be oceans, and surely you can go fishing for those big fish out there in the sea. Right? So, and their leaves shall not wither, and their fruit will not fail, and they will bear fruit every month. How many of you got a tree at home that bears different kind of fruit every month? Nobody. Well, wait a minute. God, you can't do this. Well, how about lions eating grass? Can he do that? Sure he can. He created the whole shooting match, right? He can make these trees bear fruit every month because of the waters that flow from the sanctuary, and their fruit will be for food, and their leaves shall be for medicine. You don't have to get vaccinated in the future. You just use the medicine off the trees. Right? Jesus also gave John a view of this life-giving river, Revelation 22:1. He showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding from the throne of God, that would be God the Father, and of the Lamb. Right? I suggest to you that God the Father gets into the action right at the beginning of the millennium. I've been taught, worldwide has taught a lot of people, no. You can't have the New Jerusalem, you can't have God the Father join until there are no more humans. Now, this river is going to flow for the healing of the nations. And it's going to flow from under the throne of two beings, not one being. Yeah. That's a good test for later. You can do that stuff. Revelation 22. And in the middle of the street, on either side of the river, was the tree of life, which bore 12 fruits, each tree yielding its fruit every month. There's that tree again, right? Those trees. And the leaves of the trees are for the healing of the nations. God has been putting up with humans slaying and slaughtering and raping and abusing children for 6,000 years. And he's angry. And he's tired, and he's going to fix it starting with today, a couple of years from now. Right? When they say Jesus could come tonight, ain't possible. Right? Why isn't it possible? Why can't Jesus come? Why can't, when we step out of this building, the sky scroll back? Why can't that happen?
Not everything's been fulfilled yet.
3.5-year tribulation. Right? He said it would happen, it's going to happen. Right? So it can't come tonight. It has to be. But how many trumpets, right? So 3 trumpets inside the 3.5 years. Right? So we're on a trumpet now, trumpet day. Right? A year from now, another trumpet day. A year from that day, another trumpet day. And how long before the tribulation starts? We don't know exactly. 3 more inside the tribulation. And then to finish off the tribulation, trumpet day concludes the beast powers ruling of planet Earth, and it begins Jesus ruling planet Earth and the 7 last plagues, the Battle of Armageddon, and the first Feast of Tabernacles, where we worship Jesus by looking at him. Woo! Man, it's going to be great. All right, so before the river starts to flow, Jesus plans to gather your feet and Gary's feet. Gary Pettit, bless his heart. May he rest in peace. Gary's feet are going to be gathered, and many, many other people's feet are going to be gathered, and they're going to join the feet of Jesus and your feet, God willing. Matthew 24:31. He will send his angels with a great shout of a trumpet, a great sound of a trumpet. They will gather together his elect from the 4 winds and from one end of heaven to the other. Paul tells us how the gathering will work. 1 Thessalonians 4:17. Then those who are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them, meaning the dead in Christ from the verse before, in the clouds. So there's going to be white horses. You can't see the sun. The sun's going to be blacked out. There'll be a red moon, right? A lot of shiny white horses and shiny white angels riding on shiny white horses, right? And there's going to be clouds. Will they be dark clouds, or will they be lit up bright white clouds? If you've got white horses and white beings stopping at the clouds, guess what color the clouds are going to be? They're going to be white clouds, right? Right? To meet the Lord in the air, and thus shall we always be with Jesus, never ever leaving his side from that time forward. So what kind of feet will you have in those clouds? Jesus gives Paul the chance to give us a clue. 1 Corinthians 15:43. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. You're going to have powerful feet. Powerful feet. It's like, who cares? I'm going to fly. I won't need feet. Right? You're going to have powerful feet. Verse 44. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. You're going to have spiritual feet, like Jesus' spiritual feet will touch the Mount of Olives. If you can split a mountain with your spiritual feet, whoo, that's pretty powerful feet. Right? Verse 49, image of the man of dust, so shall we bear the image of the heavenly. They're going to be heavenly feet. I look at my feet, I don't think heavenly feet. But someday, God willing, I'm going to have heavenly feet. Jesus is eagerly waiting for each of us to be born into the heavenly family of God for all eternity. As Jesus tells us about future events, he shows great concern about us falling away. It's a downer, but it's in the book. Paul also warns that the end time folk about deception. 2 Thessalonians 2:1, concerning the coming and our gathering together to him, we ask you not to be soon shaken in your mind or troubled. Let no one deceive you, for that day, the coming of Christ, will not come unless there is a falling away first. And I don't think the end of the worldwide Church of God was that falling away that he's thinking about. It was a falling away, right? But he says a falling away first, and that the man of sin and the son of perdition be revealed. Now, when you're given a choice to accept the beast power and take 666 and the mark of the beast and stay alive, and your kids can stay alive and your grandkids can stay alive, and you can go to the marketplace and you can buy and sell, right? And all the world is accepting Jesus, I mean this fake Jesus, this beast power Jesus person, Antichrist, right? And you're one of tiny few people saying, I ain't going to do it. And they say, well, we're just going to kill you. It's like, yeah. But then I get to see the white horses, right? What's he talking about? Oh, he's gone crazy. You know, lock him up. He doesn't have to be killed. Whatever, I don't know, right? But anyhow, so don't be shaken in mind. Let no one deceive you. The falling away, the man of sin revealed. Maybe Jesus is describing the falling away conditions when he says in Mark 13:12, now brother will betray brother to death. This probably is happening in Afghanistan somewhat now, but that's a different thing. And father his child. This, you know, if you get betrayed to death by your brother or your father, it's going to be a pretty rotten day, right? And children will rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. Tribulation, beast power. Verse 13, and you will be hated of all nations for my sake, my name's sake. But he who endures to the end, last breath, right, will be saved. Because he'll see the white horses, because he's been keeping the Feast of Trumpets, and he will be reminded of that's how it finishes, that's how it starts. It's going to be great. In Luke, Jesus urges us to be extra careful in the end times. Right? Why in the end times? Well, because of the increased stress of the beast power, for sure. Verse 31 of Luke 21, when you see these things happening, know that the kingdom is near. Verse 34, but take heed to yourselves, says Jesus, lest your hearts be weighed down. Now, I know what my heart weighed down feels like, because I've been watching the TV news for the last 6, 8 weeks, 7 months, whatever. And my heart is weighed down, and I'm to the point where I can't even watch all of Hannity. Right? I see what he starts, the first few minutes of Hannity, then I fast forward until I see who his guests are. If it's a general, if it's somebody who knows their stuff, I know they know what they're talking about and they're telling the truth, I'll play it and I'll listen to it, but it's a downer. My heart is weighed down. I almost hate watching the news anymore. Okay, now, next words are, with carousing. All right, raise your hands if you know all about carousing. If you were once a good carouser. Right? Okay. Right? So it's like, what? Who wrote this? Oh, Jesus wrote this. He did? So Jesus, I had a lot of trouble with this verse. Jesus is saying, I'm telling you how it's all going to be. You're looking for the white horses. Now, I want you to be really careful that you don't get weighed down with carousing. It's like, this is not Church of God people. They, and drunkenness. And the cares of this life. Okay, I'm happy enough with the cares of this life. Because, life can get to be a real pain, right? Okay. And that this day come upon you unexpectedly. So it's like, I'm letting you know how this day is going to be, but I want you to be careful that you don't get sidelined and it happens and you miss it. It comes to you as a shock and a surprise. This Sunday Keeper's translation of verse 34 has bothered me for years. Carousing and drunkenness for church members. I just don't see it. Okay, so eventually I found a Sabbath Keeper's translation for verse 34. Right? Hallelujah. See which one you prefer. Right? Now, a lot of people go, well, if the King James was good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for me. Right? So it's like, well, I'm just going to hang on to the King James. Well, don't forget that the King James says, the thief on the cross, I'm telling you that today you will be with me in paradise, is what the King James says. Right? So we know that isn't true, and we know King James isn't 100% true in every which way. Right? So see which one you prefer. This is the Sabbath Keeper's translation. Watch yourselves, lest your hearts be preoccupied. Well, that's easily done. How many of you see if there's truth serum running in the house here? Raise your hand if you've ever gotten preoccupied with something. Right? The hands are going up, right? We get preoccupied with high living. High living. Wonder what high living could mean, right? And drinking. How many of you are drinkers? How many of you drink alcohol? Hands, right? We drink alcohol, right? So, and what do a lot of people do at the end of a really bad day? they drink some alcohol, right? And the cares of this life, okay? Everybody got the cares of this life. So have you ever seen a church member caught up in high living? And now that I think about it, I have. In the Worldwide Church of God, I saw people in the church get caught up in high living. Ministers. And in the Church of God International, I saw it again. And you can get preoccupied with high living, right? So perhaps Revelation 3:17 shows us this high living. It says, Jesus speaking, you say, this is to the Laodicean church, you say, you Laodiceans, you say, I am rich and have become wealthy and have need of nothing. Please don't ever let yourself think this or say this. We are needy people. Whatever we're in the flesh, we are needy people. The older I get, the more needier I get. Right? We are needy people. But these people were saying, I am rich. So that would be high living, wouldn't it? And become wealthy. Now were they saying wealthy spiritually, or were they saying wealthy physically? Or was it a combination of both? Right? And have need of nothing. And Jesus says, they didn't like this not one bit when this was read out in church. They were unhappy church members. You do not know that you are, says Jesus, wretched, miserable, poor, blind, naked, you wealthy people. Right? So here's a classic example of church members back 1900 years ago who had become high-minded and were using their wealth. Wealthy people drink. more, probably a lot more than unwealthy people who can't afford all that much to drink, right? So another example is in the parable of the sower, Matthew 13:22. The seed among the thorns is he who hears the word and accepts it, and the cares of this world, okay, there's those cares of this world again, right? And the deceitfulness of riches. People can be tricked by riches or feeling rich. Choke the word, and that person becomes unfruitful. And the end, the seventh trumpet comes on them unexpectedly. Right? So 2 verses after 34 of Luke 21, Jesus advises the following, having said, be careful, right? Verse 36, watch. Okay, watch. I used to wear a watch, right? Until it got painful, so I don't wear a watch anymore. Besides, I got a cell phone, right? What do you mean watch? Okay, the Greek for watch means be sleepless. What? Be sleepless. Don't fall asleep spiritually. Keep awake spiritually. Ye therefore, and pray always, and always is followed by 3 Greek words. Wait a minute. You can say always in Greek without using 3 Greek words, right? And I put the definitions there for you. 1722, a relation of rest. 3956, all, any, every, the whole, a complete package. And 2540, an occasion that is set or proper time. So you wrap all that together, and that is heavy duty. Pray, watch, be sleepless, and pray always. Never let your prayer habits get thinner and thinner or die out. In fact, intensify your prayer habits as you see the day coming. Verse 36, watch you and pray always that you may be counted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass. Now, I know of some people who are not going to go through the tribulation. What? What's he talking about? Anybody in Jerusalem who sees the morning and evening sacrifices stopped by the abominable desolation person started, and they flee to the mountains. Why? Why flee to the mountains? So you don't get killed in the battle, or you don't get taken to prison camps and die in a prison camp. You get to, sit out the tribulation. You don't have to buy and sell in the mountains. Right? You catch a mountain goat or something, or whatever you do, but God will provide. And apparently you ride out the whole tribulation, 3.5 years in the mountains, where the beast power doesn't care about a handful of people in caves, right? Crazy people, right? It's the buying and selling in the marketplace that he wants to control. So Peter understood the deep feelings Jesus has for his servants when he wrote in 1 Peter 5:6, humble yourself under the hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. That's today. Trumpets is the day he's going to exalt you. Not today. A trumpet's 1 or 2 or 3. Well, it can't be 1 or 2 or 3. Okay, it has to be 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 trumpets ahead of us. Is the day that he's going to exalt you in due time. Verse 7, casting all your care upon Jesus, because he cares for you. He wants your feet next to his feet. He doesn't want you to slip and fall and fail and slide and become neglectful. Jesus uses the festivals and his apostles to remind us of where we should want our feet to land on the day of the 7th trumpet. Paul sends a reminder to the Corinthian church members in 1 Corinthians 4:17. I have sent Timothy who will remind you of my ways in Christ. He reminds Timothy when he writes to him, 2 Timothy 1:6. Therefore, I remind you, Timothy, stir up the gift of God that's been given to you. Verse 14, remind them, the church members, of these things. People need to be reminded. And what is a more glorious reminder than the Day of Trumpets, right? Hallelujah! It's the jumping off point into eternity. It's so many good things. Paul tells Titus to remind the church members in Titus 3:1. Remind them to be subject to rulers and authorities, to obey, to be ready for every good work. Keep reminding the church members. Peter writes in 2 Peter 1:12, for this reason I will not be negligent to remind you always, and so he wrote 2 books. He wrote 2 letters. And as long as you're reading 1st and 2nd Peter, you're always being reminded of what Peter was trying to do. Of these things, though you know them and you're established in this present truth, but you still need reminding, right? Jude also wants to remind us, Jude 1:5, but I want to remind you, right? And God the Father and Jesus Christ want us being reminded as today, but see, today is going to be gone. Today is going to be gone, and we're going to go to the Feast of Tabernacles and we'll be drinking, right? A lot of us will be drinking at the Feast of Tabernacles, and it says so, we can do that, right? So the Father and the Son teach us to remind ourselves using the model prayer. Matthew 6:10. Pray, your kingdom come. This is the day of your kingdom come. This is it. First of the 7th month. Now, it's not in the year 2021. Oops, missed a year there, right? But in a year not too many years ahead of us on this day, right? Your will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. If you're praying for your daily bread, you're supposed to be praying daily, thy kingdom come, which, that's an everyday thing, but this is a one day in the year thing of the white horses, you becoming an eternal spirit being, body person. If you're praying daily, thy kingdom come, we remind ourselves of where we long to be, not continuing for long, long times in this life, but into the next life, into the family of God life. God's most powerful reminder festival has to be the last trumpet day festival, this day, because it paints us a huge picture of how our lives are going to be so different across that Jordan River into the next life. This Holy Day Festival reminds us to be daily watching where we long for our feet